Okay, hello and welcome to this video. We're going to talk a little bit about the latest coronavirus, and again, I want to, before I get started, I just want to say I have been so wrong about our governor. I have been so wrong about him, and he's doing an excellent job throughout this whole thing, and he's actually. We're going to actually go to his Twitter in a minute. Well, actually, I can put it on the screen here. He took a stand against Wall Street. I was totally wrong about him. He really cares about the people, and I am so glad that he has decided to keep our parks open in New York. He's really he Cuomo was ahead of this whole thing. He was ahead of this whole thing when it came to the coronavirus, and we're so far we're being prepared in New York. Let's talk about a state that isn't prepared right now, and that's Florida. And this guy right here, Ron DeSantis, Trumper Republican. He kept the beaches open. He kept a lot of places open, and now just recently decided to start doing some social distancing guidelines. But now he's gone too far, and I'm going to explain to you two things that he's done that have made it gone too far. This guy here, well, it says right here, we're not going to watch the stream, but he's basically decided to people traveling outside the state are being checked by the National Guard. So there's rumors that he's not allowing people from outside of the state to come into Florida, which violates the United States Constitution. Again, this is another example of what you get with a lot of these Republicans out there, right? And what's worse is he did this. He closed the state parks in Florida effective a couple of days ago, which I just found out about today. So people in Florida cannot even go outside and take a walk in the park. They have closed off all the state parks in Florida, and there are a lot of them out there that they have closed. I don't know how many there are, but they have been closed here. So if we go look at Florida state parks, you will see a lot of these places. I mean, people want to get out, enjoy the sun, which is good for the immune system. And Ron DeSantis says you can't do that in Florida. So some of the articles here, Florida state parks due to COVID-19. This is a couple of days ago. And I don't want to see that here. Yes, there were reports of the beaches being very overcrowded, and that was a big problem, obviously. But a lot of these places are not, I'll show you what a lot of these Florida state parks look like. All right, you have these state forests here. I mean, a lot of these are just preserves, and you're going to keep people from walking in the woods, Mr. DeSantis? If you live in Florida, any of my viewers, go for a walk in the woods. Don't let Mr. DeSantis stop you. All right, they actually have piney woods here too, believe it or not. Don't let Mr. DeSantis stop you. Go for a walk in the woods. I'll tell you this, if that ever happened here, I don't think Cuomo would do such a thing, but if they close the parks here, I'm going to the park anyway. Nobody stops me. This is where I draw the line. You can close down the restaurant dining rooms. You can cancel the events, but when you start closing off natural spaces to people who desperately need to get outside and get some sunshine, that's what I have a huge problem with. So if you do live in Florida, don't let Mr. DeSantis keep you from the parks. Mr. DeSantis, your orders are unconstitutional, and they will be thrown out. They will be thrown out in court. So that's all I can say. So go to the park anyway. Obviously, you're going to have to find another way in with the parking lots closed, but I'm sure there's trailheads and stuff you can go in. Obviously, I'm encouraging people to do that in Florida right now. But again, you follow the social distancing guidelines. Unfortunately, they said there was some overcrowding issues. But fortunately, here in New York, we're not having these issues. And we're also seeing closures of national parks now, like Yosemite and Yellowstone closed. Here's an article from Good Housekeeping. And again, who's the president? Who made this decision? Mr. Blowhard. All right. So this is what it is. They waived the entrance fees and then they closed the park. So let's see. There are three. All right. So Gates of the Arctic, Coyote, Quebec Valley they have yet to make. So public buildings are closed. That makes sense. Denali's visitor centers. All right. So that park is open. Glacier Bay is open. Arizona popular national parks are open. Grand Canyon is open. So some of these are open, some of these are closed. Um, but the point is this: parks are for passive recreation only. All right, so you can't gather in large groups. I mean, I don't know how hard it is for people. You just don't gather in a large group. All right, look at what happened in Florida. Florida completely botched this up. This is a classic example between somebody who knows what they're doing, which is Governor Cuomo, and some Trumper Republican like Ron DeSantis, who didn't act quick enough, who didn't do enough quick enough, and now he's just shutting everything down without regards to the Constitution. Our governor, on the other hand, is aware of the Constitution and knows what he can and cannot do. So, again, I appreciate the governor for all he's done, the governor of New York and New Jersey too. I think we've done a pretty damn good job in the Northeast here. But for those folks in Florida, you can't even go into the woods. I mean, what the hell? Here's a trailhead. You know what you do? You just have a friend drive you over here, get onto the trail. That's all. Ron DeSantis, you're not keeping me out of the woods if I lived in Florida. I don't, but you're not keeping me out of the woods because nobody keeps me out of the woods. I don't care who the hell they are. I will go into the woods regardless of what anyone else says. All right, because that's important for my mental health, and it does not put anyone in danger when you're in a forest with no one else around you. All right. Obviously close the gathering areas, but people have a right to hike in Florida, and Governor DeSantis just took that right to hike away. So Governor DeSantis, welcome. You are now the official worst governor in the entire country. That award now goes to Ron DeSantis of Florida. The other thing that I want to just update you on is the latest coronavirus statistics. We have, sadly, over now 21,000 deaths, and we have nearing 500,000 cases. We have as far as the active cases, 4% are serious and critical, 96% are mild, and most of those people who wind up in the serious and critical are older people or people with pre-existing conditions. However, occasionally, people who don't have any problems are getting hit hard by this virus. Here's something that's concerning. Of the closed cases, we have a 16% death rate here. Looking at the amount of coronavirus, let's go to yesterday. You'll see here, Italy is still getting hit very hard. The United States is getting hit very hard. Look at this. Just today alone, 13,355 new cases, 1,027 total deaths just today. That's total, and then 247 total deaths today. And Spain is 49,515, and total deaths. Look at that, 656 people died in Spain today. So this is a serious virus, and I want to make sure I take it seriously when it comes to the proven ways of avoiding this virus, which are social distancing, washing your hands, and trying to, don't go out unless you absolutely have to. But going out to exercise in the woods is something that people need to do for their own mind, and nobody has the right to take that away from them. All right, but don't abuse that privilege. Don't abuse that privilege is what I'm saying. Letting you know, Florida state parks have closed. This is their little sign that they put up here. All Florida state parks are closed for effective immediately, March 23rd. All parks in Florida, state parks, are closed to the public to mitigate the spread of coronavirus. They previously announced the cancellation of all events, activities, special event restrictions, pavilion rentals, and camping reservations, which makes sense. But then they said those measures did not result in the reductions needed. This is what they put on their Twitter here. Let's see, we can go over here and see Florida at the discretion of Governor Ron DeSantis. He closed all the parks in Florida. When it comes to I can understand all these directives, but people are not happening. The governor's handling of this situation. The state parks are a great tool for social distancing. So I won't be voting for DeSantis in the next election. That's good. We've got to get DeSantis out. We've got to get Trump out. We got to get these ignorant Trumper Republicans out of our government. You know, so this is what people need to go outside and you know. And then this was going on. Here's spring break. This was going on for weeks, and DeSantis didn't do anything about it. There were other two didn't see a single other person. So it depends. It's passive recreation, not this. So DeSantis goofed up. Now he's overreacting. And then we have Trump. That's obviously Trump is trying to say anything to make Wall Street happy. He wants to have America up and running fully by Easter, which is not feasible at all at this point. But again, that's all he cares about is Wall Street. We know that. I know a certain demographic isn't going to like me going against Trump or Wall Street or these Republicans. But at this point, it's so clear. DeSantis, Trump, and a lot of these Trumper Republicans, they put us in this mess. And now DeSantis is now saying you can't even go out and take a hike in Florida. Screw you, DeSantis. One guy I will be supporting is Governor Andrew Cuomo. He's done a great job. As well as New Jersey's governor, Phil Murphy, also has done a good job. And, I hate getting political here, but it's clear after this mess, we've got to get the Trumper Republicans out. I'm not saying all the Republicans are bad, but the Trumpers have to go. DeSantis and some others out there have to go. It's clear that we here in the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and even Pennsylvania, and Maryland too, and Maryland is a good governor. Maryland, I'm sure Maryland hasn't shut their state parks. Let's see. It says right here all parks are open. So let's see what the alert says here for Maryland. I think Florida is the only state that's shut their parks. There's only one closed because of because of it's a confined area. And so far, it's only Florida that's done this. So Florida, you should be ashamed of yourself. Here is some good news. And this is just another example of how our governor here in New York has done such a great job with this. The New York coronavirus hospitalization rate is a very good sign. We're heading in the right direction because our density control plan is working. We've done it. I think we have one of the best density control plans. The parks are still open. You can still use public transportation. But we've shut down all non-essential aspects of life right now. And that is important. And so I think that Cuomo has done an excellent job with this. And I'll put the link to this article below. It's from The Hill. We've done an excellent job with this. And hopefully we can keep the plan, the density control plan is working. Because the governor cited projections that showed a doubling of hospitalization numbers expected to occur every 4.7 days compared with the Sunday projection that had shown every 2 days. So what we are doing here is working. New York was the leader with this whole thing. We were the leader with getting the testing and addressing this. I know some of us, mind sure, didn't want to hear about what was happening, but our governor here has done a great job. I can't say it enough. He has done a great job, and he definitely will be getting my vote again. As long as he doesn't touch the state parks, we'll be good. The other thing that I want to talk about here is the coronavirus updates, because the MTA is finally going to a weekend schedule. So subways are going to a weekend schedule. The buses are sort of going to a weekend schedule. And the railroad also is going to a weekend schedule. So basically, you're going to have a weekend schedule on the railroad, off-peak schedule, because there's no rush hour anymore. People are staying home. Okay, so the other thing that we need to talk about is some stuff that's going on Long Island with crowding in parks. And many out-of-towners coming to Long Beach, a crowded boardwalk, and this is going to get the boardwalk closed, unfortunately, because, again, people aren't listening. And I don't want to see that, all right? I don't want to see that, all right? Obviously, I think it's mainly a certain demographic that's doing this. You look at this. Here is another parks full of people in giant groups. This is at Heckscher. There was passed by Gardner Manor Park on Montauk Highway. Parking lot was full and overflowing onto Montauk Highway, and 30 kids playing on the playground together. So this is what my concern is, obviously, that people are not heeding the advice, and they could wind up getting the parks closed. And this is what was going on in Florida in some of the parks, but not all of them. I think we're going to need the police to patrol these parks, and when people start gathering in groups, they got to break it up. That's all there is to it. They got to break it up. So the other thing that we have for you is this. calls for a travel ban. This is related to this article here, because this is another thing that you can read in the Bible. All these people coming out of the city, going out to the East End, and wiping out the supermarkets. They're all going out to the East End, and there's less facilities in the East End to deal with such large crowds of people. And if they do get sick and need help, you can read this article below. This is obviously a certain demographic again. Obviously, South Shore, East End, this is where this demographic is. And then we have this. As a result, this guy wants to call for a travel ban, which is unconstitutional. You can't do that in the United States. I don't think the governor is going to go along with that. But this is, you can read all these articles below about what's happening in regards to the coronavirus, as far as how people are reacting, and it's a real shame that we're seeing this. People can't behave themselves, and it's mainly a certain demographic. We know that already. So there you go. That's going to wrap up this update here on some of the stuff going on, and I'm just asking everybody out there, please, if you're going to a park, you're going for a solitary exercise, maybe a walk with your friend or your wife or whatever. But it seems that some people, they just don't get the message, and they want to just keep behaving like they have always behaved, particularly a certain demographic, because that's just the way they are. We know. That's most of these reports are coming from New York City and the South Shore, because again, a lot of it is that demographic. I have not seen it in the middle of the island personally. I've been to Cantiague Park. I've been to Edgewood Preserve. I've been to parks in the middle of the island here. We're not seeing any of that, so it's obviously confined to the South Shore. There's obviously a certain demographic just acting like they always do, and they're going to get called out for it, obviously, because I don't want their actions to impact my ability to go to the Pines, which is where I need to be. And what can I say? I urge you, please, don't abuse the privileges we have right now. We don't want to see our parks closed because of the actions of a certain spoiled demographic that just doesn't learn and never will learn, it seems. So that's going to be it. Take care. Thank you for watching, and be well.